didn't have to knock me out, but I'm still holding the throne. You never know till it's over. So pretty it hurts. Just beware of the thorns.
Hello YouTube. I got a request from Milton States. I think I said that name right. If I didn't, I apologize. And he wants to know about the violence at the walls, the pokings and all that. And I've done things on the walls before, but I want to kind of go in a little more in detail this time. I haven't really before because for a number of reasons. One, some of these things, it just brings back memories. Other things, I'm always thinking that YouTube will take it down, but we're going to see what happens. All right, let's get into this. When I first got to somebody asked me, what did I think of other people when I first got to the walls, when I first got to prison? And really, I didn't think much about them. I was kind of arrogant and thought that they were better than me. I was better than they were, until this one old head sat me down and talked to me, and he opened my eyes. And over time, I realized that even though I was in there with a bunch of people that were violent and bad people, some of them became my best friends. And some of them I trust more than people I trust on the streets. Some of them I wouldn't trust on the streets. I trust them in there, but I don't think I would trust them out here. But a lot of them I got close to, and it didn't matter, how violent of a past they had or not. I just became friends with them. But let's get into this pokers. The walls had the tag plant where they made license plates, which means a lot of weapons could be made there and was made there. There was like swords that came out of there almost, I ain't talking about small pieces, but great big long ones. And there was blind spots everywhere. There was no cameras everywhere you turned. And you had to be careful in these blind spots. Everybody did. It didn't matter who you were. But in the 60s, this place was called the bloodiest 47 acres by Times Magazine, and that's because of the violence and the assaults and the murders and all this going on. It was worse back then in the 60s and 70s than when I got there in the 80s. And it was bad in there, and these old heads would tell me how it was back in the day, and I was just like, it was worse. It was just unbelievable. But I can remember, you never knew. You always had to be on guard, aware at all times. And imagine that. And I'm still like that kind of. You always had to be aware of your surroundings and be aware of what's going on around you at all times. You heard the expression, sleep with one eye open. You literally did. The slightest sound would wake you. That wasn't natural. There was always sounds in the prisons. It was open. Bars in the front. So you got used to the regular sounds, but any sound that was different woke you. Just Sally moving in his sleep would wake you. Him jumping down off the bunk or whatever. And it was just, I remember one day when I lived on Five Walk, I remember going to breakfast one morning, and there was a guy laying on the walk, and stepped over him, and you just keep going, you know, and you didn't stop, you know. The red was dripping down, going off the walk and dripping down. I don't know if it was hitting anybody or not. Didn't care. I just wanted to keep going, you know. I grabbed the rail in case I stepped in it. I didn't want to slip, because it happened to me once. I almost fell. It'd be amazing how slick blood is on the concrete. That was on the flag where I almost slipped. There was nothing really to hang on to, you know. I was a little ways from the wall, and that's why you always pay attention, you know, everything. I remember getting put in the hole once, and they're putting this guy next to me in the cell next to me, and I seen him when he went by, and you know, when they took him to the hole, and his whole midsection was wrapped up, you know, and I'm thinking, wow, man, you know, because I'd been poked before, and I wasn't wrapped up like that. And so he gets in there, and you know, it's none of my business, so I ain't gonna ask him. I barely even knew him. I mean, I'd seen him a few times, and I think I might have said one or two words to him, but I really didn't know him that well. So he knocks on the wall. He says, "Hey, neighbor, you young blood, come here." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I seen you." He was kind of laughing. I had no idea what he thought was funny, but he said, "I saw you kind of looking." He said, "Curious what happened?" I said, "Well, of course I'm curious, but it's none of my business, you know. I mind my own." He goes, "Well, I'll tell you, you know." He goes, "You ain't gonna believe this." He said, "They moved this gay guy in the cell with me." Because now I was trying to get a partner of mine moved down there in the cell with me, but he said, you know, we got to go through the paperwork and all of this and that, and so in the meantime they moved him in there, and he goes, "You know, a lot of people like me would just refuse, say no." But he said, I went ahead and let him in, and I told him, "Here's the rules. You don't bring anybody in the cell. You know, you ain't doing any of that stuff in here. Take that stuff somewhere else." And he said, later that night, just as I was going to sleep, said the guy wetted me up several times. He said, he goes, "I guess he called the guards," and he said, because the guards came down there and they cuffed him and pulled him out. And he said, as I was taking me out, he goes, he had the nerve to blow me a kiss. He said, "See ya." Years later, people would tell me, you know, they'd see some gay person or something, or some boy, and they'd call him soft or punk or something like that. And I said, you know, they're not all soft. Trust me. And some of them are bad news. You know, they'll hurt you. And a lot of these people I told this to, they didn't believe me. And there they was right about a lot of them. You know, you can just tell by looking at somebody how somebody carries themselves if they're able to handle themselves or not. You know, but I told him, I said, you gotta be careful. And I always thought about, I always told him that story, and I always thought about that story. And then there's this other story. I told this one before. I was at the control center, and just, you know, waiting to go to a visit. And one side was medical, and the other side was a visiting room. And this guy comes staggering in there, shirt, white shirt, all red, holes all over it, saying he needed medical. That's kind of, you know, he almost ran into me, you know, staggered into me, and I kind of pushed him back with my hand. And they came out and took him down the hall to medical. But this happened all the time. This is not, back then, it wasn't a once in a while thing. It was every day, all day. The fights, pokings, you know. Everybody had, it seemed like everybody had a piece, you know. And it wasn't until that one guy told me that he was going to do me, and that I started carrying a piece. I mean, we fought. I told him I was going to take it away from him, his piece away from him, and shove it where the sun don't shine. And you may think, well, I was talking tough, but inside I was nervous. I was, you know, a little worried, to say the least. So we started fighting, and I finally get it from him. And I'm trying to do exactly that. I'm trying to put it where the sun don't shine. And about that time I get tackled. Jerked up. And I'm cuffed. And it was only then that, you know, the guard says, we're taking you to medical. And I'm wondering why. And then I see the red. And at first I'm thinking it came from him. But no, it came from me. The stomach and my back. And it was kind of strange when they was sewing me up. You know what? At first I didn't feel anything. Nothing. But as adrenaline wore off or whatever, I started, it was like this burning sensation, like a stinging. But when they sewed me up, I'm thinking the one in my stomach was worse, because it was the one bleeding the most, you know. The one in the back was bleeding, but not that much. And but they was sewing me up, and they was just kind of joking around with me, you know. Not the guards, but the nurses and doctors and stuff. Not joking as in ha, but I guess they was trying to cheer me up, you know. But I don't know what they was trying to do, but I wasn't in the mood for it. But the weird thing is when they went to sew my back up, I think they only put a couple stitches in. But they was telling me, do not move. You know, because I tried to adjust, and they said, don't move. Okay. But I don't know why. I mean, it was just like I said, just a couple stitches. The one in front, I think, was 4 or 5. But this is a message to all the young people out there. Yeah, the walls is closed, but this stuff still goes on, and people are getting poked for less reasons now, over the phones and different things, Uh, there's no more walls, but there's other places in the United States that's just as bad, you know, still have a high level of violence. And this is what you got to go through if you just remember, as one of my subscribers, a guy I've gotten to really like and like talking to, Jay, has said that you're not walking out in that yard with your mommy and daddy or your lawyer. You're walking out in that yard alone. Especially if you're from a small town, you probably ain't going to know anybody in there. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, but this is, that's not a life to live, guys. I mean, some people were kind of made for it. So, if they grew up in a violent area, they go in there. It's just kind of like a continuation. But people like me, we weren't made for that, But like I said, I got to know a lot of good people back there. Well, I feel they was good people, They, at least they was good while they was in penitentiary, Yeah. Many people has helped me. I've told the story about Jim when I was told to I got into it with this guy, and they told me the way you have to handle your business, I don't know how this happened, but as I'm getting into this guy, these guys was there just to, supposed just to have my back. And next thing I know, I have a piece in my hand. And this guy, Jim, he just takes it from me and tells them to get me out of here. They take me over to, they have these water pump things back then. It wasn't like a fountain where you push a button, you work the handle. I had to wash my hands a little bit. And I didn't know what was going on, I don't know why. I didn't know why this guy, Jim, did that until later when he told me that he wanted me to go home. So that just goes to show that there are some good people back there. Yeah, that I'm thinking about that now, man. It's like yesterday. And that was over 20 years ago. But I can see that in my mind right now, just clear as day. I wish I knew where he was at. I don't even know if he's alive yet. But that dude, I'm forever grateful to him, But this was every day, when I went back on a tour of that prison. We was in Three House, and this one woman says, "I wonder if any violence happened here." And I said, "Yeah." And this other guy did too. And so we started pointing out, this is where this happened, this is where that happened. Right here, guy got hit with a mop wringer. Because somebody was cleaning up from something that happened before. And the guy grabbed the mop wringer and hit somebody else. So we're telling her all this stuff, and she's just in disbelief. I'm not sure if she believed us, but anyway, when we went outside, they had tore down the chapel, and I asked the tour guide why. He said it didn't fit in with the oldness of because it was a pretty new looking chapel. Excuse me. It didn't fit in with the newness of the oldness of the prison. They wanted that old look, so they kept all the old buildings and stuff, and took down all the ones that looked modern. But anyway, there's this grass area, and this old guy next to me says, oh wow, the grass is green. And there's a former CO there, and this woman, I think it was the same woman that was talking to us inside. She says, well, of course it's green. And this old man said, well, I remember when it was red. And the rest of us that had been in there, we knew what he meant. Now, he might have been exaggerating a little bit. I'm not sure. I do remember buckets of water being poured where there's blood on the grass, or on the paved areas, they'd wash it with buckets of 5-gallon buckets of water. Inside, they mopped it up. But she just had this look, and she just shook her head. I think she thought that what the tour guide was saying, what I had said, what this other guy had said, and what this old man had said was he was just making stuff up. And that's one reason I don't talk about it too much in depth to people in person, because I'm not sure if they're believing me. And but people like Jay and a few others that subscribed here, they'll tell you. I heard Menard over in Illinois is the same way. It's just a violent place, and many of these things I can just close my eyes and just see it all over. But I see things from the walls more clear than I do things that was before I recently got out. I only spent 5 years at the walls, and that was when I first got there, back in 88 to 93. And a lot of stuff is clear as day, like the guy sitting at a table playing poker, the guy coming up behind him and putting holes in him. That's why you should never play poker in prison. It always ends bad, it's just so many different things I can just go on and on and on about, guards beating inmates. I've heard correctional officers say it don't happen or it hasn't happened. It has. I don't care what they say. They're just sticking up for the others. But there's some that will tell you that it does happen, There's some of them that no. There are correctional officers that have quit because of the BS going on, So, anyway, Milton States, I hope this answered your what you want me to talk about. And if you have any more questions, ask them in the comments. Be sure to subscribe, hit that like and comment. You know, I like hearing from you guys, especially ex-cons. You know, well, even the ones that ain't ex-cons, because you guys have, the ones who are not ex-cons have questions I've never even thought of before. But those of you who are ex-cons, you know where I've been. You know what it's like. So you guys got great stories too. I like hearing them. And see you next time. Thank you.